Viktor Frankl described his mother as a woman whose kindness was so natural it seemed effortless, and whose faith was so deep it had the quality of bedrock, something you would not think to test because it was simply there, underneath everything, bearing the weight of whatever came. She was a small woman of quiet strength, and she raised 3 children in a Jewish household in Vienna during a period of gathering darkness, with a grace that those who knew her remembered for the rest of their lives. Frankl loved her with a directness and intensity that he did not always find easy to put into clinical or philosophical language. The love between a son and his mother, however profound, does not yield easily to analysis. But it was precisely this bond, this particular, unrepeatable, irreducible love, that became, in the camps, one of the primary channels through which Frankl's will to meaning flowed. When he was in Auschwitz, stripped of name and profession and freedom, when the manuscript he had sewn into his coat had been confiscated and destroyed, when the future was entirely opaque and the present was entirely terrible, his mother's face was among the images that sustain him. Not as a sentimental consolation but as a concrete, vivid, real presence in his inner life, the presence of a person he loved and for whom he wished to survive. He did not know, during the camps, that she had already died. He learned this after liberation. And the grief of that discovery, combined with the grief for his father and his wife, was of a scale that might have destroyed a man with fewer psychological resources. What Frankl did with it, and what it illuminates about his understanding of love, is one of the most moving aspects of his biography. For Frankl, the dead are not lost in the way that ordinary language suggests. His philosophical work on time and permanence, the idea that what has been is indestructibly real, that the past is the safest dimension of existence, gave him a framework within which the love he had shared with his mother was not extinguished by her death. That love had happened. Those conversations had occurred. Those years of being known and tended and cared for in the specific way that only a mother provides had been real, and their reality was permanent. The Nazis had taken his mother from the present and the future. They had not taken her from the past. This is not mere consolation. It is a philosophical position about the ontological structure of love, a position that Frankl believed was one of the most important things logotherapy had to offer. Love, in his framework, is the highest form of experimental value precisely because it is the deepest form of encounter with the unique, irreplaceable being of another person. When that encounter has genuinely occurred, it has permanently enriched the structure of reality. The person who was loved, and that fact is beyond revision. The practical implication for those who have lost people they loved is significant. Grief is real, and Frankl did not minimize it. But the grief is, in part, the measure of the love, and the love, in turn, is the measure of the meaning that was present in the relationship. A person who grieves deeply has loved deeply, and has known, in the encounter with that specific person, one of the most vivid forms of meaning available to human beings. The loss does not erase this. It confirms it. Frankl carried his mother throughout the rest of his long life, in his clinical work, in his philosophical writing, in the warmth and accessibility that mark his public presence, and in the particular quality of his attention to elderly patients and to those who had suffered family loss. Her presence was not diminished by her absence. It was refined by it, concentrated, as all loves are by loss, into something more precise and more precious than comfort alone could have made it. The love between a parent and a child is, for Frankl, a paradigm case of meaning found through the experimental pathway, meaning received from the world in the form of the unique, irreplaceable presence of another person. His mother's love for him, and his for her, was not a universal category experience. It was utterly specific, happening in a particular household in a particular city in a particular era, between these two people and no others. That specificity is not a limitation on its significance. It is the source of its significance. The unrepeatable is the real. What Frankl's relationship with his mother ultimately demonstrates is the same truth he found in every domain of genuine human connection, that love is not exhausted by the presence of its object. It is not a transaction that closes when the other person is no longer available. It is a permanent orientation of the self, a way of seeing and caring that, once fully formed, becomes part of the structure of the person who loves. His mother shaped him. Her gentleness was in his gentleness. Her faith in the human spirit was in his. The love between them was one of the primary sources from which his vision of what human beings were capable of, at their best and even at their worst, was drawn. She was gone. But she was not absent. The distinction matters enormously, and Frankl spent his life helping others understand it. Subscribe to the Psychology of Viktor Frankl to explore more of his timeless ideas.